Key U.S. military equipment is on the way. It's the first U.S. arms sale to Taiwan since January's election. Taiwan's Coast Guard gives new details about a fatal encounter with a Chinese fishing boat. Taiwan plans to build its own Silicon Valley within 4 years. Plus, Taiwan's defense companies flex their muscles at a major air show. Hello and welcome. This is TaiwanPlus News. I'm Leslie Liao. The U.S. is strengthening its military cooperation with Taiwan, selling it a weapons system designed to improve communications between its military assets. Sally Ensign has the details.
Taiwan has purchased nearly 200 of these F-16 fighter jets from the US. But using their fleet effectively requires an integrated communication system capable of linking it to other weapon systems and command and control. That's where the Link 16 comes in. It's a military tactical data link network used by NATO for communications and weapons interoperability, functioning like an Internet of Things or cloud for military hardware. The US just sold Taiwan the Link 16 system as part of the first arms deal with the country since Taiwan's January elections. At $75 million, the Link 16 is intended to improve Taiwan's combined arms capabilities.
那它传输的不仅仅是声音、影像、数据哈，它可以传输很多即时的战场资讯，对于三军联合作战，对于跟盟友之间、友军之间战情指挥讯息的传递是非常重要的系统。
By providing the ability to surveil enemy forces in real time and gather intelligence, it's hoped the system will bolster Taiwan's defense capabilities and increase battlefield effectiveness. The US is set to send 400 personnel to Taiwan to help get Link 16 up and running.
主要会由美方就整合国军的直管跟情监侦系统的数据链路的升级，进行整体规划。 以及完成部分优先升级的作业。
The sale reflects strengthening cooperation between the US and Taiwan and comes amid a period of increased aggression from China, which claims Taiwan and has threatened to take the country by force. The US similarly helped Ukraine deploy a Link 16 system in its fight against Russia.
北约国家美国在乌克兰战场上其实就广泛运用这个系统。 那就是北约跟美国会把他们所收集到的俄军的高价值目标的位置提供给乌克兰，由乌克兰的前线部队发动打击。
Growing ever more reliant on US-made weaponry and military assistance to deter a Chinese invasion, Taiwan is now looking to streamline its arms purchases from its partner, and it hopes the Link 16 is the system that will harmonize its defense capabilities. Alex Chen and Sally Ensign for TaiwanPlus.
New details are emerging about the fatal encounter between Taiwan's Coast Guard and a Chinese boat, which left 2 Chinese fishers dead near Taiwan's Jinmen Islands. Tiffany Wong brings us the latest.
目前有一艘 A 类高速前进，目前往北京岛前进。
This is the internal communication by Taiwan's Coast Guard recorded before pursuing a Chinese boat that trespassed into the waters near Taiwan's Jinmen Island. The Coast Guard is using the recording to defend its actions, saying they had the right to pursue the unnamed Chinese boat when it began to speed away. The Coast Guard claimed that the Chinese boat overturned when attempting to flee.
做了一个甩尾，然后不断的碰触的过程，离心力的关系导致这艘陆基快艇失去平衡，翻覆，马上开始展开一个搜救的动作。
The Coast Guard's lack of video evidence has complicated the official investigation, but they maintain that they followed all protocols. The Coast Guard also says it will add recording equipment to all ships in the future. But regardless of the video evidence, Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council, which handles matters with China, said that the Coast Guard's actions were in line with standard procedures.
发生了不幸的死亡案件，这个是令人遗憾的，但是我们仍然支持这个海巡署 继续执法。
As the surviving Chinese fishers arrived back in China, prosecutors in Jinmen questioned their claims to Chinese media that Taiwan's Coast Guard caused the accident, saying that one of the fishers had testified that they sped up to escape and did not feel a collision when the boat overturned. Prosecutors will continue to examine their testimony.
这2位都有经过海巡署以及本署检察官讯问而且本署检察官讯问的时候有全程录音。
The investigation has aggravated tensions between Taiwan and its neighbor China, which claims the island nation as its own. But it's also sowing divides between political parties in Taiwan, with opposition parties questioning the Coast Guard's version of events, making this cross-strait affair also about keeping peace in the country. Eason Pan and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Stock indexes in Japan and Taiwan made history on Thursday, reaching record highs propelled by American chip designer Nvidia's soaring profits. Japan's Nikkei broke past its 1989 record, and Taiwan's TAIEX rose to new heights as well, boosted by a rally in chipmaker TSMC, which is Nvidia's biggest Asian supplier. Nvidia announced on Wednesday that its sales revenues jumped by 265% to $22 billion in its last quarter compared to a year earlier. University students are lining up to join a semiconductor engineering program taught in part by employees of chip giant TSMC. Hundreds of students joined an information seminar on the program at National Taiwan Normal University. 10 schools will offer classes on semiconductor engineering, with some taught by TSMC employees. Completing the program also guarantees a job interview with the company, with successful hires earning a sign-on bonus of nearly $5,000. Students say they're motivated by the incentives.
当然是有赢，因为大家都知道台积电的薪水福利比较好一点，然后也是未来会想要进的大公司。
The cabinet has approved a plan aimed at creating a Taiwanese Silicon Valley in 4 years. If successful, it would vastly expand northern Taiwan's tech hub. John Van Trieste reports.
This collection of buildings might not look like much from the air, but what goes on inside powers the modern world. This is Hsinchu in northern Taiwan. It's a tech hub that's known as the heart of Taiwan's semiconductor industry. Semiconductors are essential for electronics, and chipmakers in Hsinchu dominate the global market. But Taiwan's government wants more for this region, and big changes are already on the way. During last year's presidential campaign, ruling party candidate Lai Ching-te pledged to create a Taiwanese Silicon Valley centered on Hsinchu and its neighbors. He envisioned a corridor including the city of Taoyuan to Hsinchu's north and the largely rural county of Miaoli to its south. Now, Lai is president-elect, set to take office in May. And before he's even been inaugurated, Taiwan's cabinet is laying the groundwork for his Silicon Valley plan. It's approved a 4-year blueprint. Already, officials are optimistic.
桃竹苗是一个非常完整的一个科技廊带，那同时它还有这个桃园机场跟台北港所以有国际物流的趋势。虽然它的面积只有台湾的10%，可是它的产值是台湾的1/4接近10兆元。
The plan includes the construction of 7 new science parks and 52 new industrial parks. The goal is to create over $190 billion in output value and create 140,000 jobs. The National Development Council already has water infrastructure projects on the table to supply thirsty industries like semiconductors as they ramp up production. It's also considering how to meet growing demand for power, as well as the demand for transport, medical care, and housing that will come as new jobs boost the population. They say this plan's success is vital to Taiwan's future.
桃竹苗大溪谷推动计划的我们国家战略的考量，新兴国家都积极的布局这个半导体，我们觉得有必要加强力道，来巩固台湾在半导体的竞争优势。
But it's not just semiconductors. That's only the starting point. The hope is for an upgrade across many industries in the region, with the help of tech like generative AI. In 4 years, this part of Taiwan is set to look very different. Maybe not from the air, but certainly in the eyes of the tech and business world. Dolphine Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
3 Taoyuan police officers are under investigation for allegedly beating and tasering a minor in their custody. The 17-year-old victim was detained for 8 hours on accusations of kidnapping. In a bid to get a confession, the officers are said to have interrogated him for more than an hour, hitting him and tasering him multiple times. The Taoyuan Police Precinct says it will not tolerate any of its officers breaking the law.
经本分局调查属实，已依法将涉案员警移送桃园地检署指挥侦办，并对受害之当事人、家长及社会大众深表歉意。
Militaries from around the world are showing off the latest in defense technology at the Singapore Airshow. This year, more Taiwanese companies than ever before are taking part in the expo, but as Jaime Ocon explains, many are still struggling for international visibility.
Air shows like this one in Singapore are big business. Companies from more than 50 countries, including the US, Japan, and China, are all showing off their latest advancements in aviation and defense technology. But smaller countries like Taiwan are also trying to make their presence felt and get a chance to work with some of the biggest names in the defense industry. Among the Taiwanese firms here is AIDC, and it's looking for international partners.
我这次带的2个协会，还有我们公司人来新加坡参加这个航展，因为新加坡是个非常高度贸易自由化的一个国家，来这边我们可以见到很多 Tier 1的大厂。
AIDC is one of Taiwan's most prominent defense manufacturers. It works together with the US to upgrade Taiwan's fleet of more than 130 F-16 fighter jets. But not all Taiwanese companies are this successful internationally. Many companies find it difficult to form partnerships abroad. International companies are often wary of engaging with Taiwan, fearful it might impact their ability to do business with China, which claims Taiwan as part of its territory and often discourages companies from working with Taipei.
Unfortunately, it is difficult because of China's effort to isolate Taiwan. Although Taiwan's industrial capability is very good and they have a very good workforce, so a well-educated, hard-working workforce. If you look at AIDC, how well it's doing with the upgrade of the F-16s, for example.
But Taiwanese companies are hoping the Singapore Airshow will be a chance to do business with a greater variety of customers.
This area is the Taiwan section of the expo. Now, while it's not as big as other countries, it's still setting records of its own, with its biggest ever turnout here at the Singapore Airshow.
8 companies from Taiwan are part of this year's delegation, and officials say the turnout is a promising sign of the increasing attention Taiwan is getting internationally, especially in emerging fields like drone technology.
So this will be a very important platform for Taiwan companies to show their product, their service, not only materials, but also the integrated system, such as drone. Anti-drone system will be very important in current defense system.
One Taiwanese company here, Tron Future, makes mobile radars and anti-drone systems. Tron's CEO says that even gaining international visibility can be a challenge.
So the typical way is defense is always a very sensitive topic in any region, especially in today's situation. Take this just Singapore Airshow, for example. We are not allowed to show too obvious any Taiwan logo directly. So we have to deal with this problem carefully.
The Singapore Airshow is held every 2 years, and events like this are a rare chance for Taiwanese companies to easily meet and connect with the rest of the world, regardless of the obstacles. Chris Ma and Jaime Ocon in Singapore for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up after the break, Taiwan joins an elite scientific club. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Inka Vat. Today we examine China's engagement in Africa.
Unfortunately, this very aggressive form of cultural revolution-like politics in China seems to be moving forward in this modern era.
this grave injustice is happening.
The issue is, what can the U.S. do to help strengthen Taiwan?
We need that kind of mindset to prepare for the warfare.
What implications does this have on Taiwan and the region as a whole?
Just like Ukraine right now, you need people to understand we're doing this for our own country.
Reaffirmed our support for the Taiwanese ability to make their own decisions about their own future.
It's very hard to duplicate in the short time. Taiwan still can continue being the leading position if we put efforts on R&D.
And you are riding on a wave. This is exactly the time you need to double down.
Or I did not realize I am actually running to be the first Asian woman in the state senate. Our next generation, they can see Asian American is as equal and have the same platform.
Taiwan Talks provides a platform for the voices and perspectives that are shaping our country.
For more stories from here in Taiwan and around the world, visit us on social media or follow our website at TaiwanPlus.com.
We bring you stories from Taiwan.
Every day of the week.
Our reporters travel the nation.
Exploring the issues that matter to you.
News from here in Taiwan and around the world.
What's up, Taiwan? On TaiwanPlus.
Welcome back. This is TaiwanPlus News. The United States is slapping Russia with over 500 more sanctions ahead of the second anniversary of its invasion of Ukraine.
We know that Russia has grossly violated not only the human rights of the Ukrainian people, but also the human rights of Russians. This is ultimately why we have taken a number of actions, both with regard to sanctions, but also export controls during this conflict, but over the last several years and decades.
The sanctions target Russia's military-industrial complex and companies that support it from abroad. They come 2 years after Russia invaded Ukraine and are part of an effort to cut Moscow's access to revenue and weapons. As the war between Russia and Ukraine grinds into a third year, the villages near the epicenter of the conflict are reflecting on the profound impact of the war. Rosie Greninger reports.
In a small Ukrainian village 100 kilometers from the front lines of the Russia-Ukraine war, residents visit loved ones who lost their lives defending the country. This graveyard in Lozuvaka has a new section named Heroes Alley, where 11 soldiers lie.
Як сказали сільська рада, ми не очікували, що буде таких багато, щоб можна було робити спочатку алею слави.
In the 2 years since the Russian invasion, life in Ukraine has changed drastically. Similar burial plots have appeared across the country with more than 10,000 civilians and an estimated tens of thousands soldiers killed. With thousands of people recruited into the armed forces, farmers in Luzivaka are struggling to stay afloat.
Ну а так по громаді є ж багато позабирали спеціалістів, механізаторів, бо до техніки теж потрібно, щоб ремонтувати. Ну а на землі теж треба працювати, а кадрів ми ще молодих не виростили.
Schools have been forced to close because their bomb shelters aren't big enough to accommodate all students. So former teacher Yulia now dedicates her time to coordinate the village's volunteer efforts. She packs boxes, delivers goods, and aids military units.
Якщо до війни я жила спокійно, займалася своїми улюбленими справами, то і мала друзів, то після війни я втратила багатьох друзів, дуже багато показали, хто є хто. А для мене стали рідними, чужі взагалі люди.
And in neighbouring suburbs, relatives of the more than 8,000 Ukrainians missing, many captured by Russia, are calling for their government to do what it can to get them released, while couples struggling to see a life beyond war are choosing not to start a family.
Коли не знаєш, що буде з тобою завтра, то дуже важко задумуватись навіть про те, щоб в таких умовах жити разом з дитиною.
The United States and its allies have been applying thousands of economic sanctions to pressure Moscow to slow war efforts, including blocking Russian President Vladimir Putin and other government officials from accessing their US bank accounts. But as the war with Russia enters its third year and Ukraine's resources run low while facing cuts to US military aid, what hope there was here for a timely resolution are dwindling. Scott Huang and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
To find out more about the impact of Russia's invasion of Ukraine 2 years on, TaiwanPlus spoke to Timothy Milovanov, a former economy minister in Ukraine.
I've traveled to the occupied territories. I've met with elderly who are 70 or 80 years old, who were kept in basically containment, half a meter, square meter per person, and many of them died and some survived. And it's just because Russians didn't care. They treated them as cattle,
To watch the full episode, tune in to Connected on Saturday. You can also find it on the TaiwanPlus website or on our social media. Taiwan is one of the newest members of the Quantum Computing Club with a device that went online in January. Eric Gao takes a look at the machine and what it could mean for Taiwan's future.
Inside these tubes and wires is a Taiwanese technological breakthrough. This is Taiwan's quantum computer, a scientific feat that puts it in an elite club of countries. Quantum computers can run much faster than conventional or classical computers, and they can solve problems that would leave those computers stumped, using powerful basic units of information called qubits. Their greater computing power can speed up scientific research and create more accurate models. This means more medical breakthroughs and better weather forecasts, just to name two real-world benefits of these computers.
你可以想象这个可能就像是我们的大脑一样哦。那也就是说，你可以想象我有时候拿东西啊，我的大脑会告诉我用左手拿比较简单，还是用右手拿比较简单。
Building a machine like this is tricky business. Key components have to be kept extremely cold to work, close to absolute zero, which is about minus 270 degrees Celsius. A team of Taiwanese researchers came together in 2022 for this project. They finished it at the end of 2023 and brought it online in January this year. Though the project involved collaboration with US universities, the project was Taiwan funded.
不用依靠别人，尽量不要靠着别人，自己有能力独立做出来。
Academia Sinica planned to have a 3-qubit quantum computer up and running by February 2024, but it has blown past that goal with this 5-qubit model, a quantum leap ahead of schedule. John Su, John Van Trieste, and Eric Gao for TaiwanPlus.
Stunning images have come out of NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory after it witnessed an intense solar flare. The phenomenon appeared as a bright flash in the upper left quadrant of the sun. Solar flares are short bursts of electromagnetic radiation released into the sun's atmosphere. According to NASA, solar flares can affect communications, power grids, and navigation systems. This flare was an X-class flare, which is the most intense. When Taiwan's boxers head to Paris for the Olympic Games, they'll be going toe-to-toe with the best the world has to offer. Some of their opponents may be from Cuba, a country that produces fighters that have long been punching above their weight. Bryn Thomas looks at what makes them so good.
Ask your uncle to list out things Cuba's known for. It'll likely be cigars, rum, and boxers. Cuban fighters, like two-time Olympic gold medalist Julio Cesar de la Cruz Peraza, consistently outperform and outfight far better resourced athletes from far more populous and wealthy countries with far more modern training facilities.
Tenemos un gran colectivo que se conforma por colectivo de entrenadores, triada médica, la familia de nosotros, la familia del boxeo cubano, que eso nos inspira a entrenar y a tener los resultados que tenemos. Por eso es que somos respetados en el mundo y somos de los más fuertes en el mundo. Sin tener muchas cosas, hacemos grandes cosas.
Despite coming from a population of just around 11 million, fighters from Cuba have taken an awe-inspiring 41 Olympic gold medals, 19 silver, and 18 bronze since 1972. A haul second only to the United States. A facility in the village of La Wahai, outside of Havana, has produced a majority of them, Fighters here train on improvised and outdated equipment. But the facility makes up for what it lacks with some of the best coaching in the world. They had a team of athletes fueled by national pride and raised in economic adversity. Since the revolution in 1959, Cubans have faced shortages of food, medicine, and fuel, things essential for training athletes, and yet they keep winning.
Que los que nos antecedieron tuvieron esos resultados, nosotros no podemos dejar esos resultados que bajen, a pesar de las dificultades, a pesar del arraigo del tema del bloqueo económico que estamos enfrentando por más de 60 años, que cada vez se reproduce más.
Cuban boxers are known for their ring intelligence and their technical excellence. Their trainers use traditional, no-frills training regimens to produce disciplined, dedicated fighters. They're part of a long tradition of boxing in the country, which sees kids raised in the sport from an early age.
Y él me motivó a seguir adelante en el boxeo y no rendirme y llevo ya 4 años ya aquí entrenando deporte y he llegado aquí a esta escuela de alto rendimiento.
Cuban athletes will once again be stepping through the ropes into the ring at the 2024 Paris Olympics. When they do, they'll be continuing in a long tradition of punching up against the competition. Howard Chang and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
An Australian zookeeper has been caring for an orphaned baby echidna in their bathroom. The animal, also known as a puggle, was found alone in a forest at just over a month old, an age requiring round-the-clock care. The zookeeper has since been looking after it at home and says the bathroom provides a nice, cool temperature for the puggle. She'll release it back into the wild once it's fully grown.
She's a pretty good housemate. She's fairly well behaved, yeah, I'm going to miss her when she's no longer with me.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Before we go, check out these animals enjoying a cherry blossom buffet in Taiwan. I'm Leslie Liao. Take care, and I'll see you next time.